but its true origin is still a mystery. That means they're saying they're inching closer, means they're far away, and it's still a mystery. Any theories or models of creation are incredibly speculative at this moment. This is a scientist saying this. Okay, what does that mean? Who can explain to me what this means? Any theories or models of creation are incredibly speculative at this moment. Who wants to explain this? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Do we have a microphone?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, hurry up, Mayapur.
Does it mean that
Hare Krishna.
Does it mean that all the assumptions or like models that they made is like all based on their thoughts? Like it's not based on any knowledge or anything. They just assume something.
Yeah, it's all speculative. It's all things that they're imagining. They don't really have the proof that it's true, right? Any theories or models of creation are incredibly speculative. So not only it's speculative, it's incredibly speculative. In other words, very, very speculative, right? Paul Suter, an astrophysicist at Ohio State University and chief scientist at the Center of Science and Industry, he says, perhaps the best known theory about the beginning of the universe is the Big Bang theory, in which the universe expanded from an extremely hot and dense singularity around 13.8 billion years ago. But people misunderstand if they think that matter simply exploded into being from nothing, Suter says. The Big Bang happened everywhere in the universe simultaneously. It is not an explosion of space, but an explosion of space. Yet the exact process of what caused this, and of course, what was there beforehand, remains unknown. In other words, it's a bunch of nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about. So this is one of the 7 things that the scientists cannot explain, and we'll explain all 7 of them at another time. So basically, Gödel is saying you can't understand the origin of the universe unless you go outside of the universe or assume things that you can't prove in order to help you understand, you see. Just like I can't understand the Tesla car unless I really meet the manufacturers of the car. They can explain all about it to me. I could assume things, but I would never know for sure. Okay, I can study it, take it apart piece by piece, try and put it back together again. I might understand a little bit, but still there will be things that I don't understand. Those things that I don't understand are called intellectual property of Tesla. There's certain secret things that are patented that I would never really understand unless they help me. See? Okay. Now, since the time of the Greeks and Pythagoras, all research scientists assume that the universe is regulated by laws that are mathematical and logical. See? So Gödel's incompleteness theorem can be used to examine the assumptions of the scientists about the universe. If you draw a circle around the entire universe, then there will still be theories that may be assumed true but are not validated, such as the Big Bang theory of creation. They assume it's true, but it's not proven. See? So that's why I brought this point up. Scientists admit there are 7 things they don't understand today. And one of them is the creation of the universe. And the best theory that they have is called the Big Bang theory. But they can't prove that it's true. They don't have the evidence. Any system of logic or numbers will depend on unprovable assumptions. Euclid's 5 postulates for geometry as an example. The 5th postulate has never been proven to be true, yet it is necessary to solve problems. In mathematics and science, many things are assumed to be true that have never been validated empirically. Yes, my word.
Do scientists, like, because do you know how, like, they can be, like, God?
Okay, you said like 3 times so far. It's like saying, Stop
Hare
doing
Krishna.
that. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
So-
Say what you want to say without saying like.
Okay.
Then don't say either.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, well, you can ask your question later. Okay, so we're not going to dwell on Gödel's theorem, but you understand that people make assumptions of things they cannot prove, but it's helpful for them to establish their theory. But until they can prove their assumptions that they're making are true, their theory is not actually valid. It's just a speculation. Gödel also formulated a mathematical proof that God exists. But he did not publish it right away. He published it posthumously. He had it published posthumously. What does the word posthumously mean? Anybody know? Was that burp answer, Krishna P? Yeah. No. Okay, so what does posthumously mean? Yes? Hare Krishna. Give her the microphone, Mike. We're going to give the job to someone else, Mayapur. You're not doing it well. Leave one microphone with the ladies.
I think it means something like where they're like postponed. He postponing, like he'll say it later, like, you know, like he'll.
Yes, but it specifically means after he died. He had it published after he died. So you were on the right track. Posthumously, post means after. See that what you did was you analyzed the word according to its prefixes, root, and suffix. So post means, in Latin, it means after. Okay, that's the way many English words are made. They're made from Latin and Greek words that are put together as prefixes, roots, and suffixes. Right. So what's a prefix? Huh? First part of the word, yeah. A root, what's the root? What? What the word is derived from, the main part of the word. And what's a suffix?
The end part of the word.
End part of the word, yes. Okay. So, this is a statement I'm making. You can check to see if it's true. I say that Gödel's incompleteness theorem is similar to the ancient Vedic principles of pramana, or axiomatic criterions to validate if something is true. There are 3 major pramanas, or evidences. Who knows what they are? Go ahead. Go ahead. Hare Krishna. Okay, don't say don't say and don't say like. Go ahead.
So the first one is.
Don't say so either. Go ahead.
The first one is pranava, or
first pranava. First pramana is.
Yeah, pramana. So pramana is seeing with the eyes.
Okay, what's that called in Sanskrit? Somebody help her?
Pratyaksha Praman?
Pratyaksha,
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right.
So evidence means pramana, right?
Yes.
And then the first one's pratyaksha, and then after that it's anumana.
Anumana, which means?
Which means that you like, Hare Krishna, you see something and then you, Hare Krishna, you just assume, right?
Yeah, it's called inference.
Yeah,
You infer. If there's smoke,
then
there must be fire.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the third one is Shabda.
Yeah.
And that means with,
Hare Krishna.
it's with Vedic evidence, right?
Sabda means receiving knowledge from a perfect
from-
source.
Yeah.
Right. Good. So, however, due to the 4 defects of every living entity, what are the 4 defects? Yes. The microphone.
Cheating propensity.
What? That's one of them. Okay, Mayapur, what's one?
I know one more.
Oh, go ahead.
Limited senses.
Yeah, imperfect senses.
Illusion.
What?
Illusion.
Easily illusioned, yes. And one more?
And delusion.
No, that's one. He said 2. There's a 4th one. What did people do every day?
Cheat.
Huh? Take a bath? No,
No.
not everybody takes a bath every day. No, people make mistakes every day, right? Yeah. So the mistakes, illusion, imperfect senses, and a cheating propensity. Okay? Now, we've gone over this many, many times, but the more you repeat it, the more chance you have of remembering it, right? Okay, so because of the 4 fundamental defects of every human being, it's impossible to understand the truth simply by observation. Why? Observation and even experiment. Why? Yes. Come on, speak into the microphone.
Gladell's incompleteness theorem says that if the object's in that circle, you can't fully understand it without referring to something.
Okay, but on this part, I'm saying Gödel's incompleteness theorem is similar to the Vedic principles of pramana. How is it similar?
Oh, because humans are defected.
Yes,
by nature.
human beings have imperfect senses.
Yeah. So they
So
can't understand.
as much as you observe, as much as you experiment, you'll still make mistakes, go into illusion, and cheating propensity, and of course imperfect senses. So you're not going, simply by pratyaksha, direct observation, you will not understand the truth. Okay? And you will not understand the truth by anumana either. Why? Inference. If you remember, I gave the example once. We were driving down the I-90 to Sankirtan, and I looked through the window, I looked through the window, and I thought there was a fire because what I saw was smoke. But then I looked more carefully, it wasn't smoke, it was clouds that looked like smoke. Huh? It was an illusion. So, yeah, if there's smoke, there must be fire. But here was an illusion, and I thought it was smoke, but it was not, when I looked a little more carefully. See? So we make these mistakes all the time. The mistakes of perception, the mistakes of hearing, and it leads to illusion. So if pratyaksha and anumana will not lead to the truth, is there any other way that we could actually understand the truth free from mistakes? What is that?
Shabda praman.
Sabda, right? Hearing from a perfect source. And the example given is, in the Vedas, is the statement is given, the town is on the river. Now, if we analyze that sentence, how is the town on the river? Can you give me an idea? Mayapur, we just sit over here, take the balloon out of your mouth, give me the balloon, put it over here. Okay, go sit down. How is the town on the river? Can you tell me?
It's floating on the river.
Floating on the river? That's one way. Anybody else? Yes. Give her a microphone. Give her the microphone. Yeah. Turn the microphone on. It's?
Depending.
Depending on the river?
Yeah.
Okay, that's even more confusing, but anyway. Anybody else have an idea how the town is on the river? Okay, Yamuna?
Because they can build platforms on the river, and then they can they can start their town on top of the river like that. Or it can mean that without the river, the town cannot be possible because they need the water source.
Okay, anyway, that's another possibility. Are you sure of any one of those? No. Yes?
The most likely one is that's probably on the banks of the river.
That's another possibility. Is it on both banks or on one bank?
One bank.
One bank, okay. So you see, all these are speculations. You don't know for sure from that statement. The town is on the river. It could be on one bank, or it could be on the other bank. It could be on both banks. It could be on an island in the middle of the river. Or it could be hovering above the river by some miracle, right? So how would you really know? I mean, you could use grammatical and syntactical analysis. You can use all kinds of different methods, pratyaksha, anumana, whatever. Well, you can't do pratyaksha because you're far away from the town. So how would you actually know how the town is situated on the river? You'd have to hear from someone who lives in that town. They could go, no, it's only on one bank of the river, right? So you see, there are things that we can't figure out on our own. This is basically Gödel's theorem. It's things that are outside of us that we can assume to try and help us understand, but we'll never know for sure. Unless we get knowledge from a perfect source, because we have 4 defects that will hinder us from understanding. Krishna P., sit back there, please. Back there. So, therefore, the only way we can really know what the truth is by getting knowledge from a perfect source or a perfect authority. So people who are subject to birth, death, old age, and disease cannot be perfect, because we're going to be limited by birth, death, old age, and disease. Someone who's born forgets everything that happened before. Someone who dies and is materially attached, their mind is confused, and they're troubled, and they're lamenting. You see. So it's impossible to have perfect knowledge from people who are subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. But according to the Vedas, it's possible to have perfect knowledge from a perfect authority. The first step of getting perfect knowledge is to accept that Lord Krishna is a perfect authority, the original authority, because he spoke the Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. That's not the first time he spoke it. He spoke it to Vivaswan at least 120 million years ago. And this is explained from a quote from the Mahabharata Sarva Parva. In the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yuga, the science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaj Ikshvaku, and the king of this earth planet, and forefather of the Raghu dynasty in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. So that's a verse from the Mahabharata. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. There are 4 ages of time. We are at present in the Kali Yuga that began approximately 5,000 years ago. The previous age is Dwapara Yuga, that lasted for approximately 800,000 years. And previous to that is Treta Yuga, that lasted approximately 120 million years ago. A rough estimate is that Maharaj Ikshvaku must have existed at least 2,005,000 years ago. That's 1,200,000 plus 800,000 plus 5,000 years. Because he is the king of the earth planet and the forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which the Lord Ramachandra appeared during the Treta Yuga. Thus, Bhagavad Gita has existed on the earth for approximately 2,005,000 years ago, when Manu spoke to his disciple and son, Maharaj Ikshvaku. Vivaswan spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Manu at the beginning of Treta Yuga. We can assume, therefore, that Manu then taught his son Ikshvaku not long after he learned it from Vivaswan. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita has existed on the earth for approximately 2,005,000 years ago. When did Krishna speak the Bhagavad Gita to Vivaswan? The life of Manu is approximately 305,300,000 years, of which 120,400,000 years have passed. If we assume that before, okay, how do we know that? Because each Manu lives for approximately 71 yugas, or periods of Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. Each one of those is 4,300,000 years. So you multiply that by 72 and you get the lifespan of a Manu. This Manu, the seventh Manu, Krishna appears in the 28th cycle of the seventh Manu. So that's how we are calculating that the present Manu has lived 120,400,000 years. If we assume that before the birth of Manu, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple Vivaswan, the demigod of the sun, then we can estimate the first time Bhagavad Gita was spoken was at least 120,400,000 years ago. Thus, Bhagavad Gita is the oldest existing spiritual text in history. The amazing fact is that all the truths explained by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita have remained just as relevant and unequivocally true today as they were millions of years ago. No other book has maintained its relevancy for such a long period of time. The Old Testament of the Bible is at most 3,000 years old. The Quran is 1,300 years old. The Buddhist writings about 2,500 years old. How do we know that the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is still relevant? We can examine the following verses. Dahayato vishayam pumsa, sangat te subhajayate, sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodha vijayate. Krodahad bhavati samoha, samohat smriti vibhrama, smritiram sadbuddhina, so buddhina sat panasyati. While contemplating objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Although spoken many millions of years ago, originally 120 million years ago, and more recent times, 2,005,000 years ago. This is the history of Bhagavad Gita in this universe. The truth of these two verses cannot be denied. Human beings are prone to being enticed by material objects, just like, what's his name? Who was enticed by this object? Surya. Who was enticed by this object? Why, you see? So human beings become enticed by objects, material objects, and also attractive persons. Some people are attracted by a wrapper, right? Not a paper wrapper of a candy bar, but a wrapper, R-A-P-P-E-R. See, the word is pronounced exactly the same, W-R-A-P-P-E-R and R-A-P-P-E-R. You see, that's how confusing English can be. So contemplating with desire to enjoy an object or person will evolve into attachment by the natural process of thinking, feeling, and willing. Can anyone explain to me what is meant by thinking, feeling, and willing? What? What is meant by thinking, feeling, and willing? We've discussed this many times in other classes, previous classes. These are the 3 psychological steps before you act. Just like Mayapur, he thought, oh wow, that's a balloon. I'm interested in the balloon. And not only it's a balloon, it's a green balloon. Not a yellow balloon, not a red balloon, but a green balloon, right? So I'm going to hold on to that balloon and play with it. You see, he thought like that. And then he was thinking how good it feels doing this. You know, I can touch it, I can blow on it and make it bigger. I can disturb the class by going, letting the air come out of the balloon, and so forth, right? And then he thought, I must have that balloon. And then he picked up the balloon and started playing with it. You see, so thinking, feeling, and willing. These are the 3 things, psychological steps you have to go through before you act. Just like Sidhu just now put on blue gloves, right? So obviously, do you like those blue gloves, Sidhu? Yeah. When did you first see those blue gloves? Show everyone the blue gloves. Put your hands up like this. There they are. Okay. When did you first see those blue gloves? A year ago. Did you ask your mom to buy them, or dad? They bought them for you? Give him the microphone. We're doing some research right now. This is called research. Go ahead.
For Sasin, it became too small, so he gave it to me.
Were you happy when you got it?
Well, yeah, I never had gloves.
And before you had these gloves, did you see Sasin wearing them?
Yeah.
And what did you think when you saw him wearing them?
It's cool.
It's cool, right? Cool meaning like cold, or cool meaning like... Yeah. So you see, Sidhu had these... He became attracted to these blue gloves worn by Sasin. And Sasin, of course, got bigger, and the gloves got too small for him. And he gave them to Sidhu. And Sidhu now, 1 year later, is still wearing them, even though it's not cold in here. But he's wearing them. Why is he wearing them? You tell me why he's wearing them.
Because he likes them.
Because they're cool.
Yeah.
Right? Do you have blue gloves? Do you have blue gloves? Krishna P., you have blue gloves?
I used to, but they got jammed.
Okay. So you see, he's got something cool. It makes him feel good, right? So at one point he thought about it. He felt how good it would be if he had it. And then he willed, I must have it. And then Krishna transferred his desire to Sasin's mind, right? Because Krishna is in the heart as Paramatma. And Sasin decided to give him his blue gloves and move on to other gloves, right? So you see how things go. He's thinking, feeling, and willing. 3 psychological steps before you act. Put your hand down. So, human beings are prone to being enticed by material objects and attractive persons for sense gratification. Did you feel that you would have more sense gratification if you had the blue gloves on? What do you say when you say Hare Krishna. Yeah. So contemplating with desire to enjoy an object or person will evolve into attachment by the natural process of thinking, feeling, and willing. One becomes convinced to possess and enjoy the objects of interest. This mental preoccupation can develop into lust for a person or an obsession. If one's obsessive desire is frustrated, then anger arises. With the increase of frustration and anger, one becomes deluded. This causes bewilderment of memory, by which one forgets or disregards the importance of self-control. The faculty of discernment, intelligence, is disrupted and leads to reckless, irresponsible, and destructive acts which have serious consequences. So this is an analysis of these two verses. It was true millions of years ago. Is it still true today? Yes. So you see the relevancy of Bhagavad Gita, even though it was spoken originally 120 million years ago. And we just chose 2 verses. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses. Every one of those verses, put your hand over your mouth when you yawn. Nobody wants to see your tongue and your teeth. Okay? The relevancy of those 2 verses is still as important today as it was millions of years ago. There's no other book in this world like the Bhagavad Gita. I'm telling you right now, except the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no other book like it. So why should we waste our time reading other books when we have a perfect explanation of the truth by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? Yes. Microphone.
Can you please repeat the word that means after? Like, Hare Krishna, that Godel, he published the book after. What is it called? The word.
Okay. The book that he published when he was living is called, it was called Godel's Theorem, Incompleteness Theorem.
Yeah.
Right? After he died, he had his God Theorem published.
Yeah.
Now, why did he not publish it while he was living? He wrote it like, I think, 10 years before he died.
Because.
Yeah. Because?
Because he didn't want to get all this bad comments.
He didn't want to be ostracized from Princeton University and the academic community that he was living in. In other words, the modern academics, you know, philosophers, scientists, and so forth, they are Nazis. They're no different than Nazis. When it comes to anything that points to God, they immediately rise up like an army of Nazis, and they'll try and kill you. Or not kill you physically, but kill you intellectually, shame you, so that you keep your mouth shut and you stop publishing your God theorem. So you see, this is, and it was true in Godel's time. He was living. He came up with his theorem, I think, in 1950. Godel, by the way, was a personal friend of Einstein. He was a personal confidant. They worked together a lot in Princeton. Princeton was a university started by Christian ministers and Christians, and has become today the citadel of atheism. What does citadel mean? Citadel. Yes, Advait. In a sense, no, it means yes.
Like the gathering place.
In a sense, yes. A citadel is like a fortress, a protected fortress, where people live, and they come up with their own theories, right? So Princeton is the citadel, the fortress of atheism in the United States, and all kinds of perversions. So, although it's one of the most prestigious universities, all the big demons go there and get trained to be a bigger demon, you know. So people like George Bush graduated from Princeton, and many others that have misled people in this modern age. And just like when Prahlad Maharaj's father sent him to a school to train demons. Who were his teachers? Who was Prahlad Maharaj's teachers? Skanda and Amarka, yeah. And what were they trying to teach him? Yeah, yes. No, how to say something but mean something else. How to twist your words. You know, just like there's a saying, the tongue has no bone, therefore you can twist it any way you want. You can say the truth, or you can lie with the same tongue. See? Because it doesn't have a bone. You can twist it whatever way you want. Okay, put your hands down. So, we see that these two verses in Bhagavad Gita, and every verse of Bhagavad Gita, like these two verses, are full of timeless wisdom that is pertinent today as it was millions of years ago. What is that a testament of? If these two verses are pertinent today as they were millions and millions of years ago, what does that say about human nature? Come on, you think now. Just think. Okay, Krishna P.
That they need to improve?
Yes. It means that they haven't really improved in 120 million years. Of course, they have a lot more science, industry, and so forth, but people become angry, and then they do stupid things, and they're self-destructive also. Nothing has changed. Yes? Well, not all human nature stays the same, but there's a general tendency that we see that people are lusty, angry, bewildered, they lose their intelligence and do stupid things. Stay away from that drum. Sit over here. Just sit over here. So human nature has not changed very much. That doesn't mean everybody is like that. Srila Prabhupada wasn't like that, right? Yes? Is that your answer? Hare Krishna.
Is it also saying that, like, that when famous leaders or, like, philosophers, they're always talking about how, like, we're making so many improvements and, like, human life is always getting better. So, like, is it relating to that? Because, like,
well, usually they're saying, just like Trump says, you know, America great again. You know, we got more jobs, bringing industry back to the United States, doing this, doing that. But that doesn't mean that people have improved morally.
Yeah.
You see, it just means they have more money to have more sense gratification. That's all. Yeah. And again, not everybody. There are good people also, but in general, economic development does not mean ethical, moral, or spiritual behavior. There's not an equation. The more you have money, the more you become good. Not necessarily. Okay, so then the above sequence, you know, going from observing an object to losing your intelligence and being self-destructive, happens every day. By reading the daily news, one becomes aware of acts of rage perpetrated all over the world due to the inability to control anger. One of the main themes of the Bhagavad Gita is how one can control the mind from disturbance. So there was a friend of mine, his name was Mahavishnu Swami. He was a very elderly man, and he loved Prabhupada very much. And he gave a lecture once on purification of existence. Very important subject, purification of existence. And he said, we have to purify from gross to subtle. Now, material creation, how does it go? Does it go from gross to subtle? It goes the opposite way. It goes from subtle to gross. So he's saying purification has to go from gross to subtle. See how intelligent he is? So number one, he said, purification of eating. Ahara sudo sattva sudhi sattva sudo dhruva smriti smriti lambe sarva grantinam vipramokshaha. By performance of jagya, one's eatables become sanctified. And by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified, and when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. In other words, one can think of Krishna. So this is a verse, and Mahavishnu Swami, Hare Krishna, says, our Guru Maharaj has said that at least devotees should take one vow in their lives. That is, they will eat only prasadam and avoid outside food. The word at least is very important to meditate upon. If we cannot do anything else in devotional service, at least this should be our vow, or otherwise there is no question of purification in our eating. Our tendencies are to compromise so many times with so many justifications and arguments for eating other than prasadam. Since we compromise on eating any food, our existence is not purified, and thereby memory does not work, and we fail to remember basic things in Krishna consciousness, even after so-called practice for so many years in the process. Where is the question of thinking about the path of liberation? So the Vedic literature instructs us, mitan bhuktva satam gatva, mitan sutva, mitam vacha, vaime bhage sayanasya bishakbir kim prayojanam. What is the use of a doctor if we eat very little, walk at least 100 feet, have limited regulated sleep and speech, and sleep lying on the left side? This is a Vedic wisdom. In other words, when you sleep, should you sleep on the right side or the left side? According to this, we should sleep on the left side, right? And when we eat little, do we need a doctor? No. And when we walk every day, do we need a doctor? Less, yeah. And if we have limited, regulated sleep and speech, will we need a doctor? No. It doesn't say unlimited, irregulated sleep. It's a limited, regulated sleep. So you see, everything Prabhupada has taught us is correct. If we simply follow Prabhupada's instruction, he said you shouldn't sleep more than 6 hours a day. Right? And we should be regulated. Regulated means you eat at the same time, you sleep at the same time, you wake up at the same time, you study at the same time, you work at the same time, you have a regulated life. And the person who gave an example, put your hand down. The person who gave the example was Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He had a watch, and he regulated his time, his activities by his watch. In fact, he was so perfect in doing it, you could adjust your watch according to his activities. That's how perfect he was and regulated. So when you're regulated in your habits, you become very healthy and energetic, and your mind is very clear and sharp. And when you're irregulated in your habits, you become dull. You're not so healthy, and you lack energy for action. As our Maharaj, as Prabhupada says, that because of our excessive eating, we accumulate so much undigested food in our stomach, which is the root cause of all our diseases. Consequently, on account of excessive eating, we sleep excessively. Because of lack of tongue control, we tend to speak unnecessarily all the nonsense talks. By talking all nonsense talks, Nrinam Santi Sahasrasaha, we invite Yamaraj, just as a frog invites death by croaking. Purification of the body and senses. Srimad Bhagavatam 283 states that Kata Yasva Mahabhago, and so forth. O greatly fortunate Sukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. Srila Prabhupada, in his wonderful purport, gives the way of purification of our body and senses. To be fully engaged in hearing the transcendental narration described in the text of Srimad Bhagavatam means to constantly associate with the Supreme Soul, Sri Krishna. And to constantly associate with the Supreme Lord Krishna means to be liberated from the qualities of matter. What are the qualities of matter? Birth, death, old age, disease. Lord Krishna is like the sun. And material contamination is like darkness. As the presence of the sun dissipates darkness, constant engagement in the association of the Lord Sri Krishna frees one from the contamination of material qualities. Contamination by material qualities is the cause of repeated birth and death, and liberation from material qualities is transcendence. Therefore, simply by hearing about Krishna, our body improves. You don't need to work out. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to take supplements. You don't have to get injections, of monkey gland liquid or whatever. You simply have to regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Simply by hearing about Krishna, our body improves. Those who hear transcendental topics, their body is not material, not at all. They are surcharged with Krishna Katha. The body also becomes transcendental. No disease touches us, but because of our past sinful reactions, we suffer from it. We need to be fully engaged in... the point is that we need to be fully engaged. We should be... we need to meditate completely on Krishna. We are engaged by so many years of Krishna consciousness, but whether we are fully engaged in mind, whether our mind is fully engaged is definitely a question. If yes, we can associate with Lord Krishna, then all the material qualities will dissipate, will go away. But our tendency is that we come and hear, but attentive hearing is absent, and that is the reason for our body not becoming transcendental. In other words, every time I have to stop the class to tell somebody, don't open your mouth when you yawn. Stop playing with the balloon. Don't sit next to so-and-so. Move over here. All that is a testament, is proof that we don't know how to hear. You learn how to hear by coming to the class. But you don't come to the class and do nonsense because you're not learning the one most important thing from coming to class. That is how to hear attentively. So we have to understand, you come to class, you're learning, the first thing, the most important thing you're learning is how to hear attentively. That means after the class, you can remember, stop playing with your bead bag, please. You can remember everything that was explained in the class. And if you have a difficulty remembering, take a few notes. Yes, said Voit. Where's the microphone?
Hare Krishna, how can we control our mind from getting distracted?
Very good question. That's the subject today. Already you learned from these two verses of Bhagavad Gita, verses 62 and 63, how the mind becomes distracted, right? It all begins by not seeing things correctly. How can you see things correctly? Explain that to me. How do you see things correctly? Yes?
Hare Krishna, I think that how can we see things?
Because this verse, the Hayato Vishayam Pumsa, begins by not seeing things correctly. How do you see things correctly?
How do we see things correctly is that we do more devotional service on Krishna, and then our vision becomes spiritually clear and we can see things better.
That's a good start. Very good start. Yes. You see things correctly by seeing them in relationship to Krishna, not independent of Krishna. When you go to material schools, they teach you we started this class with the statement. What do they teach you in material schools? Yes. No, be more specific than nonsense. That's easy to say nonsense. What do they teach you specifically? Yes. Everything minus Krishna. That's the way they teach you. They teach you to see every... Oh, Prabhu, would you agree with that? You agree? Okay. So he's a college graduate, so he knows. Do you have a master's degree? Yeah, he has a master's degree. Right? But he just got the PhD. PhD is understanding, one, the strategy of the demons and the materialists. Their strategy is everything minus Krishna. And then number two, the strategy of the devotees. What is the strategy of the devotees in education? Everything plus Krishna. Everything in relationship to Krishna, right? So that is the difference between material education and spiritual education. You understand, Hari? Simple, right? It's simple because it took many years and lifetimes to figure it out. Just like Einstein came up with his equation, E equals mc squared. How many years did it take him to figure that out? A lot of years, a lot of thought. Although he did it earlier in his career, but still he thought, if you look in terms of intensive thinking, he thought intensively for a long time to be able to come up with a simple equation, E equals mc squared. Okay. In other words, the conversion of mass to energy and the reconversion from energy to mass. It's a very, very important concept. In other words, going from subtle to gross. But for the purification of mind, how should you go? Krishna. No, you missed the point. What? From gross to subtle. For the purification of mind, you have to go from the gross to the subtle. And for creation, you go from the subtle to gross. Okay? So you have to, in a sense, deconstruct the mind. Why do you have to deconstruct the mind? Because it's been constructed wrongly by material education. We spend 20, 25 years acquiring material education that has to be deconstructed. So you go from the gross to the subtle to purify the mind. Okay. Yes. Yes, I think you, because you're the only one that has a hand up. Yeah.
It's like if you build a house upside down and then you have to destroy it to build it the right way.
You don't have to destroy it. You just have to take it apart and put it back together the right way. Right. Okay. So today, I'm going to skip a lot of things, but we'll come to the main point. The main point is that a devotee learns to see everything in relationship to Krishna. And this is explained by Prabhupada and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the Acharyas, where it says that a devotee, when he sees something, doesn't exactly see that thing. He sees Krishna everywhere. Now, what does it mean to see Krishna? A person who sees Krishna everywhere is called an Uttama Adhikari. But what does it actually mean to see Krishna everywhere? Like, for example, Vyasadeva and Narada Muni and Sukadeva Goswami did not see Krishna everywhere. But yet, they are Uttama Adhikaris. So what does it mean? It means that Vyasadeva, Narada Muni, and Sukadeva Goswami are considered to be on the highest standard of pure devotional service. Why? Because they have an overwhelming desire to see Krishna. Pure devotees never say, I saw Krishna. Pure devotees say, I'm anticipating to see Krishna. That anticipation, that is stronger than any other thing. It's called vipralamba bhava. When you love someone, you want to see them. You're aspiring to see them, right? So love and separation makes your love even stronger, because you can't but think of that person that you love, and Okay, stop holding hands. Right now, why is it that the boys always want to hold hands? Is there something about holding hands that's important? Do you hold hands when you walk out the room? No. Then why do you want to hold hands in the? Okay. So learn to hear, right? What do you want to learn, Sidhu, when you come to the class? What are you trying to learn? What's the one thing you're trying to learn?
Hear.
The ear? You learn the ear? Hear, yeah. How to hear attentively. Hear attentively. Not to hear. The elephant also hears. Right? It's hear attentively. Okay, so Sukadeva Goswami, Vyasadeva Narada, their real qualification is called Tad Dudik Sadhikai, or having an overwhelming desire to see Krishna. Therefore, the statement of Bhagavad Gita that the devotee should see Krishna everywhere, Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra, can be understood in terms of the example of a lusty man's thinking that the world is full of beautiful women. Lusty men, and there's so many of them in this world today, in fact, most men are lusty. They always want to see beautiful women. Now, when Prabhupada came to Paris, this is in 1974. He came 1972 the first time. I invited him. He came the first time. Then he came 73, and then he came 74. In 74, we had just gotten our new temple that was right near the Champs-Élysées, the most important street in Paris. And it was a very prominent place. And, okay, I'll finish the story after the opening of deities.
Govinda. Govindam Purusham Brahmam.
Once this gets over, I'll start.
Govindam Purusham Bhajami. Govindam Purusham Bhajami. Bhajami Govindam Purusham Bhajami Govindam Purusham Bhajami यशोमती नंदन ब्रज बरो नागर गोकुल रंजन कान यशोमती नंदन ब्रज बरो नागर गोकुल रंजन कान गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर कालिय धमन विदान अमल हरि नाम अमिय विलासा अमल हरि नाम अमिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बोर बंसी बदन सुवास ब्रज जन पालन असुर कुल नाशन नंद गोधन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला यमुना तटचर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृपा मोय श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोदाश्रय यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधे राधा नील माधव राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव Jaya Subhadra. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patgami, Nayana Patgami Bhavatu me. Nayana Patgami, Nayana Patgami Bhavatu me. Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Baladev, Jayo Subhadra. Jayo Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman. Jayo Lakshmi Narsimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narsimha, Lakshmi Narsimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narsimha. Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jayo Gaur Hari. Jayo Sachinandana, Jayo Sachinandana, Jayo Sachinandana, Gaur Hari. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada. Somebody sing Narasimha. Don't break it, gently carry it.
Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki. So now we're discussing how to see correctly, how to see everything in this world correctly. And we were talking about Vyasadeva, Narada Muni, and Sukadeva Goswami. They had an overwhelming desire to see Lord Krishna. Therefore, in the statement, Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra, one should see Krishna everywhere. Just like a person who wants to become a millionaire, they're thinking all the time about how to make money. A person who's very lusty, they're always looking at pretty girls. Okay. Similarly, one should become transcendentally so desirous of seeing Lord Krishna that one can see him within the entire universe. In other words, in everything he sees. And either he sees Krishna himself or he sees Krishna's energy. This is called Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sudurlabha. The symptom of a pure devotee is that he sees Krishna himself or Krishna's energy everywhere. And in a letter Srila Prabhupada wrote in 1969 to this professor at the University of California, Professor Stahl, Prabhupada said that all his disciples were intensely following Krishna consciousness and strictly following the intense program of Krishna consciousness. And his devotees were actually Sudurlabha Mahatmaha, very rare Mahatmas, who were always Vasudeva Sarvamiti, always seeing Krishna. Sit over here, please, and leave your hands off of Mayapur, and you leave your hands off of Krishna. Sit over here, go over here. So if one is always engaged intensely in Krishna consciousness, then they have this strong desire to please the Lord and to gain his association one day. Therefore, there's nothing in their life but Krishna because of that strong desire to please the Lord and to see him one day. But this is not the same thing as theoretically understanding that Krishna is everything. That does not qualify one to become a first-class devotee. One actually has to develop love for the Lord, and anyone who enthusiastically engages in Krishna consciousness activity and devotional service and eagerly participates in preaching, then they are on the level of called Madhyama Adhikari. And when the devotee becomes overwhelmed by the desire to serve Krishna and associate with the Lord, so much so that he or she is not attracted to anything else, then they become Uttama Adhikari. So you see, the Madhyama Adhikari is full-heartedly engaged in preaching. The Madhyama Adhikari sees Krishna, sees the devotees, he sees innocent people who are in ignorance, and he sees the demons. But by intense engagement in devotional service, eventually the devotee becomes overwhelmed with the desire to see Krishna and serve Krishna and associate with the Lord, so much so that he's not attracted to anything else. Then they come to the level of Uttama Adhikari. So therefore, the vision of the devotee is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 8th chapter, 274th verse, Stavara Jangama Deke, Na Deke Tara Murti, Sarvatra Haya Nija Istadeva Spurti. This verse says, the Mahabhagavat, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. This is the vision of a pure devotee. And due to deep ecstatic love for the Lord, the devotee sees Krishna everywhere and nothing else. This is also confirmed Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadeva Hridayesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The devotee always sees the Lord because the cataract of his eye has been melted by the salve of love of Krishna. Salve means a healing substance. And when you apply this healing substance from the eye. It melts the cataract. The cataract is blockage of the eye to see. So what is that salve? The salve are the tears of ecstasy. They're usually called cold tears as opposed to hot tears. That melts the cataract that's stopping us from seeing Krishna. So as soon as the devotee sees something, it could be something that's moving or something that's not moving, he remembers Krishna. An advanced devotee also is advanced in knowledge. So this knowledge is given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Rasoham apsukonteya pavasmi sasisur. That woke up Mayapur because he knows that verse. Let me hear you say it. What's the meaning? O son of Kunti.
Oh, son of Kunti,
I am
the taste of water, the light of the sun and moon, and the silver in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound and ether and ability in men.
Okay. So Krishna is teaching us to see him through his potencies. In the 7th chapter, 8th verse, 9th verse, 10th verse, 11th verse, 12th verse, he's teaching us to see him through his potencies. So either you see him directly or you see his energies working. So in the 7th chapter he explains this. In the 10th chapter he explains how to see his potencies, his energies. In the 11th chapter he explains how to see his energies. Okay. So when a devotee drinks water or any other liquid, he immediately remembers Krishna. In fact, when you drink water or any liquid, the first thing you should say is, what's the first thing you should say besides Hare Krishna? Rasoham apsukonteya. What does that mean? Yes? Huh? Why are you holding the microphone upside down? So what does it say?
I'm the taste of water.
Yes. So next time you drink water, Sai, what are you going to say? What's that mean? So that means you're tasting Krishna. Okay. And prabhasmi sasi surayo. I'm the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. So next time you see the sun, what do you say? Yeah. And the moon? Prabhasmi sasi surya. So you're seeing Krishna. It's Krishna's energies. And pranava sarva vedesu. What does that mean? Huh? The syllable Om in the Vedas. So when you say Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Vishnu, Paramam Padam, and so forth. Every time you say Om, that's Krishna's energy. It's non-different than Krishna. Put that down. And Sabdeke Purusham Nishu. I am the sound and ether. So whenever you hear any sound, like you hear somebody driving by in a car, you know, boom, 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 you know, that sound, that's the sound and ether that's coming from Krishna. And Purusham Risu, what does that mean? The ability in man. The next time Mayapur jumps up and puts the basketball into the hoop, of course he's can't do it yet, but whenever he's able to jump up like Hanuman, put the basketball in the hoop, where is that ability coming from? Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is teaching us to see Krishna through his potencies and also through his different incarnations. So Airavata, Uchasrava, and so forth. These are all expansions of Krishna. Okay, so this is the vision of a pure devotee. He doesn't exactly see the object or moving or unmoving or a person. He sees Krishna, and then he sees the relationship of that thing or person to Krishna. So everybody has a relationship to Krishna. Right? What are you sticking in your mouth? So a saintly person, an advanced devotee, sees Krishna 24 hours a day and nothing else. As far as movable and non-movable objects are concerned, he sees them all as transformations of Krishna's energy. Are you putting that in your mouth again? Stop playing with it. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhirevacha hankara ityame bina pakritir astadam. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these constitute eight separated energies, material energies. So therefore, nothing is separate from Krishna. Nothing is independent of Krishna. Nothing is outside of Krishna. Everything is contained by Krishna. Krishna is within everything, and Krishna, in a sense, is everything. Does that make everything Krishna? If Krishna is everything, does that mean everything is Krishna? No. Why not? If you say Krishna is everything, then why can't you say everything is Krishna? Pranay.
If Krishna is everything and everything's not Krishna, I believe that...
Oh, and the question is, if Krishna is everything, then you should be able to say that everything is Krishna. Is that true or false?
It is false.
Why?
Because
question is, if Krishna is everything, can you say therefore that everything is Krishna? You say yes? Pranay says no. Why?
because everything doesn't have the necessary qualifications or features to be Krishna.
Then how come Krishna is everything?
Because everything is made up of fire, ether.
Krishna's energies.
Yeah, Krishna's energies, and
He's a Paramatma.
Well, Krishna, that means he's in everything, in every atom of the universe, and in the heart of every living.
And he controls like the soul and the...
He's a supreme controller, but the question again is, if Krishna is everything, why can you say that everything is Krishna? Pranay says no. Number one, because everything is made of Krishna's energy. Even the living entities are expanded from Krishna, but the living entities are not equal to Krishna. And every object is not equal to Krishna. So therefore you can't say everything is Krishna. Although you can say Krishna is everything, because everything is made of Krishna's energy. Yes, Advait.
also another point is that basically, Hare Krishna. Like Krishna can create everything, but everything can't create Krishna.
That's also true, yes. So nothing is separate from Krishna. So when a devotee sees a tree, he knows that the tree is made of two things, two energies. What are those two energies, Agastya? Is it is one of them? No. Answer.
Krishna's energies and...
Okay, what are they? There are two categories of energies. What are they? Okay, look at that. What do you call that? Gong. Okay. What's the gong made of?
Metal.
Okay. What is metal? What is metal? It's material. It's a material thing, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now look at Voit. What is a Voit made of?
Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence. I did. Oh yeah, false ego.
That's all?
And the spirit.
Okay, so you have two categories of energies. You have material and spiritual, right? So a devotee, when he sees a tree, he sees that the tree is made up of a combination of material and spiritual, right, energies. The inferior energy is spiritual? Is that the inferior energy?
Material.
Material, yeah. And the superior energy is?
Spiritual.
Spiritual. So whatever you see in life is some combination of these two energies, matter and spirit, okay? Where do matter and spirit come from? Pranay. Krishna. So everything's coming from Krishna. Everything you see is made up of matter and spirit, and both matter and spirit come from Krishna. If you understand that, then everything you see is Krishna. Right? But is everything Krishna? No. Yes.
Is there a real explanation for why Krishna is everything, but everything isn't Krishna?
Yes, because everything is made of Krishna's energy, but yet Krishna is a unique individual. And everything, all other persons are unique individuals who are subordinate to Krishna. They're not equal to him. And matter is subordinate to Krishna. It's his inferior material energy, so that's not equal to him. So therefore, Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. Okay? Can you repeat that? Go ahead.
Everything is made up of Krishna's energies, and matter is subordinate to Krishna, and it's his inferior power, so it cannot be equal to him.
And what about the souls?
So souls are part of Krishna, so they can't be inferior.
Souls are unique individuals, and Krishna is a unique individual, but the souls, the individual souls are not equal to Krishna. They can never be equal to Krishna. So therefore, Krishna is everything. The souls come from Krishna, matter comes from Krishna. But everything is not Krishna because matter is his inferior energy, and the souls are only parts and parcels of the Lord. They're never equal to him. So therefore you can't say everything is Krishna. Got it? Almost. When you stop playing with that thing, it'll be done. Okay. So therefore, when we become purified by devotional service, then we see only Krishna in every step of our lives. So, how to see Krishna always? Yeah.
By doing something that's related to Krishna?
By being engaged always in his devotional service, we become purified. We read from my friend Mahavishnu Swami, purification of the body, purification of the mind and senses and so forth. So that's done by always being engaged in devotional service. Then you'll develop the ability to see Krishna always. Do you do devotional service in the public school? Do you?
Yes.
You do? You don't even go to public school.
No, but you do, because if I went to public school, then
what would you do?
Then my service will be to do my studies properly. So then after I get a college degree, I can do devotional.
No, but my question is, do they teach you? Do they engage you in devotional? Is there, like, you have PE, right? Physical education, right? So do they have DS? What's DS? Do they have DS? No. They have PE, but no DS. Yes, Mayapur.
When you said
I didn't say Hare Krishna.
when you said you have to like run 100 feet and like have a
You have to walk.
Yeah, walk. And
In other words, you have to exercise. You have to walk every day.
Yeah.
Like Prabhupada took a walk every day.
so in the public school, they have Hare Krishna. They have a running track, and like only like sometimes of the like every year they do it.
Yeah, okay, but that's yes, and they do that for your health, the health of your body. They don't want you to just be
So-
sitting around all the time.
But so when you walk in the hall, you don't like walk 100 feet or like you don't do exercises because like your walk is just walking to your classroom, and that's like maybe like
Okay, and then, anyway, let's go forward. What was your question, Pranay?
So in my school, they had a social.
They had
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
They had a social studies class, and like in there we had to combine our English grammar to make like a presentation or basically an essay about
Stop it.
the religion of a certain
The what?
like place. And
Yes.
I chose India, and a couple of different people did it. And so like in the books they had Hare Krishna.
They had
like different, like they showed how brahmacharis could like do their service.
Okay.
And basically you had to like memorize the facts and write it. So would that be called devotional service? Learning about?
That's not really devotional service, but it's better than learning about, the Civil War, Okay, so I think we come to the end of the class. Today we discussed how to see things correctly, because when you see things incorrectly, you end up in illusion and self-destructive. Okay, the more you do that, the longer the class goes on. See, I started a new subject now because you did that. So if you want me to stop, you stop doing that. So when we need to engage in devotional service to purify our mind and senses and body from material contamination. And then we develop the ability to see Krishna always. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. Your homework for tomorrow is explain what is the difference between material education and spiritual education. And give live examples, give real examples of your own experience. No questions. Do you understand? You understand what the homework is? Yes. Explain the difference between material education and spiritual education. Give real examples. Things that you've experienced. Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we're going to the Compassion Festival now. Starts at 12 o'clock. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. I hope. So you're going to be there with your checkbook, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, now, which one of the boys wants to hold hands with another boy? Raise your hand. You do?
I